All right, so let's dive into this.
Yeah.
Um, a topic that's both chilling and fascinating,
Mm,
the headless horseman.
right?
You know that image of a solitary rider
Yeah.
galloping through the night, holding his own severed head? It's the stuff of nightmares
Oh, yeah.
and legends. And you asked us to track down
Uh-huh.
the origins of this spooky figure.
It really is amazing how that image has stayed with us for centuries, isn't it?
It is. And it's even more fascinating, I think,
Mm.
is that the headless horseman isn't just an American invention.
Yeah.
Long before Washington Irving
Yeah.
and Sleepy Hollow, there were tales of headless riders haunting Europe.
That's right. We're going all the way back to 18th century Europe to a region called the Giant Mountains.
Okay.
And these mountains weren't just known for their breathtaking views.
Right.
They were also home to some pretty creepy folktales.
Oh, yeah.
Featuring a character named Rubetzl.
Rubidzel, yeah. Rubidzel was a bit of a trickster spirit,
Okay.
known for shape-shifting.
Into various forms, and sometimes that form
Okay.
was a headless giant.
What?
He was a force of nature, really, embodying the unpredictable and
Yeah.
often dangerous aspects of the mountains.
Okay, so we've got this shape-shifting, headless giant roaming the mountains.
Right?
What kind of stories did people tell about him?
Well, one story that really captures the terror of Rubetzal involves
Huh?
a countess and her two daughters traveling through the mountains. Imagine you're in a coach with only a coachman and a watchman for company, and the night is closing in.
Oh, wow.
There's this palpable sense of dread because everyone knows the stories about Rubetzal.
Yeah, I can practically feel the chills running down my spine just thinking about it.
Right.
What happens next?
So as they journey deeper into the mountains, they come face to face with this towering figure dressed in black,
Oh, wow.
standing right in the middle of the road.
Oh, okay.
At first, he's wearing a scarf obscuring his head.
Oh.
But then, in a truly horrifying moment, he reveals his true form, holding his own severed head in his hand.
Oh, wow. That's a seriously creepy visual. It makes you wonder, what did people back then make of a figure like this? Was
Yeah.
it just pure terror? Or was there something more to it?
That's a great question. I think it's important to remember that for people living in those times,
Yeah.
the natural world was a powerful and often frightening force.
Right.
Mountains, storms, forests.
Yeah.
These were places where people felt vulnerable at the mercy of the elements. So a figure like Rubetzal,
Yeah.
a headless giant embodying the wildness of the mountains, would have resonated on a deep level.
Mm-hmm.
He represented the untamed aspects of nature that people both respected and feared.
That's a really interesting point.
Mhm.
So in a way, the Headless Horseman in those early European tales wasn't just a spooky figure, but a symbol of something larger.
Right.
The power and mystery of the natural world.
Exactly. And it's interesting to see how that symbolism evolves as we move across the Atlantic and look at the headless horseman in American folklore, particularly through the work of Washington Irving.
Right. But before we get to Sleepy Hollow,
Yeah.
I think we need to understand a bit about Irving himself. He wasn't just a great storyteller. He was a marketing genius, way ahead of his time.
Absolutely. He loved playing with pseudonyms
Uh-huh.
like Diedrich Knickerbocker. He even staged a hoax to promote his book, A History of New York,
Right.
pretending that Knickerbocker was a real Dutch historian who had vanished.
Wait, Diedrich Knickerbocker as in the New York Knicks?
That's the one.
Wow.
Irving's work gave us that iconic nickname,
Wow.
and it shows how clever he was at creating buzz and getting people talking about his stories.
He was a master brand builder even back then.
Absolutely.
So how does this marketing savvy play into the creation of his most famous tale, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow?
Well, I think it's safe to say that Irving's understanding of storytelling and his ability to generate excitement definitely contributed to the success of Sleepy Hollow. He knew how to tap into the public's imagination and create a lasting impression.
Okay, so we've got this backdrop of European folktales about headless riders, and we have this brilliant author in America who knows how to craft a compelling story and capture people's attention. Let's get into the heart of it now. What makes Irving's version of the Headless Horseman so unique?
One of the things Irving does so brilliantly is ground his story in real places.
Okay.
Sleepy Hollow Tarrytown, the old Dutch church.
Yeah.
These are all actual locations in the Hudson Valley.
Right.
He even weaves in historical events like the capture of Major John Andre during the Revolutionary War.
That's such a smart move. By using real places and events,
Yeah.
he makes the story feel more tangible, more
Yeah.
believable, even with the supernatural elements. It's like he's blurring the lines
Right.
between fact and fiction.
Exactly. And then there's the mystery surrounding the Headless Horseman's identity. Irving offers several possibilities. A Hessian trooper who lost his head in battle, an American militiaman decapitated by a cannonball, or even perhaps a ghostly echo of those older European folktales. He doesn't give us a definitive answer, which adds to the intrigue and keeps us guessing.
It's like he's inviting us to become part of the mystery.
Yeah.
To come up with our own theories about what really happened. Okay, so let's meet the main players in this spooky drama. Tell us about Ichabod Crane and his fateful encounter with the Headless Horseman.
All right, so picture this. It's a crisp autumn evening in Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
The leaves are turning, there's a chill in the air, and everyone is gathered at the Van Tassel farm for a lively autumn party.
I can practically smell the cider and pumpkin pie. So who are we hanging out with at this party?
Well, the star of our show, of course, is Ichabod Crane,
Okay.
the lanky, superstitious schoolmaster
Right.
with a bit of a reputation for having his head in the clouds, so to speak.
Yep.
He's got a weakness for ghost stories and an even bigger weakness for Katrina Van Tassel, a
Okay.
beautiful daughter of a wealthy farmer.
Sounds like there might be some drama brewing. Does Ichabod have any competition for Katrina's affections?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Enter Abraham Van Brunt, better known as Brombones,
Okay.
the local heartthrob,
Yeah.
a strong and boisterous prankster who's also quite smitten with Katrina.
Okay.
You can already feel the tension, right?
Oh, yeah, this is classic love triangle territory.
Right.
With a spooky twist. What happens at this party?
So the party is a whirlwind of music, dancing, and feasting.
Okay.
It's a scene right out of a storybook, and Ichabod is in his element trying to charm Katrina with his awkward dance moves.
But I bet Brom Bones isn't just sitting back and watching, is he?
Not a chance.
Yeah.
Brom is known for his pranks, and you can bet he's finding ways to make Ichabod look foolish and undermine his efforts to woo Katrina.
So does Ichabod win over Katrina in the end?
Well, that's where things get a little murky.
Hmm.
We don't know exactly what transpires between Ichabod and Katrina, but as the party winds down and guests begin to head home, Ichabod leaves looking dejected and downhearted.
Okay.
It's clear that something has shaken his confidence.
Okay, so we've got a heartbroken, superstitious schoolmaster riding home alone at night in a place known for its ghost stories.
Right.
This can't be good. What happens next?
And remember, Ichabod is riding a borrowed horse named Gunpowder,
Okay.
who isn't exactly known for his calm temperament.
Right.
And as Ichabod makes his way through the darkened countryside,
Okay.
every shadow seems to take on a menacing shape. Every rustle of leaves sounds like a ghostly whisper.
Right.
His imagination starts to get the better of him.
And of course, he has to pass by Major Andre's tree, the spot where that British spy was captured.
Right.
Didn't we say earlier that even in Irving's time, that spot had a spooky reputation?
That's right. It was a place shrouded in mystery and local legends said to be haunted by the ghost of Major Andre himself.
Oh, wow.
And as Ichabod approaches the tree, he hears a groan and sees something white hanging from the branches.
Oh, no.
His heart pounds in his chest, but it turns out to be just a patch of bark.
Oh, man. Talk about a jump scare.
Right.
But I bet that didn't exactly calm his nerves. What happens next?
Well, then he has to cross Wiley's Swamp, another place steeped in eerie tales.
Okay.
According to local lore, the ghost of Major Andre was known to linger there, too.
Oh, wow.
And it's at this point that Ichabod encounters the true terror of the night. A towering figure on horseback emerging from the shadows.
The Headless Horseman.
Exactly. At first, he can't make out the figure clearly.
Yeah.
But as they ride along the horsemen, keeping pace with Ichabod always just out of reach, his fear mounts.
Yeah.
Tension builds with every passing moment.
This is the part where I always picture that classic chase scene.
Right.
Ichabod racing through the woods, trying desperately to escape the Headless Horseman. What are the most memorable details of this chase?
Well, the story really comes alive in this scene. Ichabod whips Gunpowder into a frenzy,
Yeah.
but the horseman is relentless. They race past familiar landmarks, the church, the graveyard, the bridge, all bathed in an eerie moonlight. And then as they crest a hill,
Yeah.
the moonlight reveals the horrifying truth.
Yeah.
The horseman is indeed headless, carrying his severed head on the pommel of his saddle.
That image is just so iconic.
It is.
It's burned into our collective imagination, isn't it?
It is.
And it plays on that primal fear of the unknown. of something pursuing you
Right.
that you can't escape.
You
And
have to-
Ichabod completely loses it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
He's terrified, desperate to get away. He even loses his saddle at one point, clinging to the horse's neck for dear life.
Right.
So he can't outrun the horseman. How does this chase end?
The chase reaches its climax at the church bridge.
Yeah.
The same bridge, keep in mind, where another ghostly figure in the story vanished earlier.
Right.
Ichabod is convinced that if he can just make it across that bridge,
Yeah.
he'll be safe.
But knowing this story, I have a feeling things don't go quite as planned.
Right.
What happens at the bridge?
Well, as Ichabod thunders across the bridge, he risks a glance back,
Oh,
and that's when he sees it.
yeah.
The horseman rears up, his severed head in hand,
Oh, man.
and hurls it straight at Ichabod.
Does he get hit?
Irving tells us that Ichabod
Okay.
encountered his cranium with a tremendous crash
Okay.
and is thrown from his horse into the dust.
Oh, wow.
The horseman, with a triumphant laugh, vanishes into the night.
So what becomes of Ichabod? Is he dead?
That's the brilliance of Irving's storytelling. He leaves it up to us to decide.
I love that ambiguity. So what clues do we get about Ichabod's fate?
Well, the next morning, Ichabod is nowhere to be found.
Okay.
A search party discovers his hat near the bridge,
Yeah.
along with a shattered pumpkin.
Wait, a pumpkin. What's a pumpkin doing in this scene?
Ah, that's the twist.
Okay.
Remember Brom Bones and his penchant for pranks?
Yeah.
Well, the story hints that what Ichabod saw might not have been the horseman's head at all, but a pumpkin expertly thrown by Brom to scare him.
Aha. So it's possible that Brom Bones, knowing Ichabod's weakness for ghost stories, orchestrated this whole terrifying encounter.
Right.
That's actually kind of brilliant.
It is, and it adds another layer to the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you question what's real and what's imagined.
Yeah.
And whether Ichabod was truly a victim of the supernatural or simply his own overactive imagination.
So do we know if Ichabod ran away, too embarrassed to admit that he'd been tricked?
Right.
Or did something more sinister happen to him?
That's the beauty of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. It invites multiple interpretations.
Yeah.
Did Ichabod flee Sleepy Hollow never to return?
Mm-hmm.
Was he harmed, or did he simply learn a valuable lesson about the dangers of letting superstition cloud his judgment?
Yeah.
Irving leaves that for us to ponder.
It's amazing how this story, even with its open ending, has had such a lasting impact on our culture. I mean, the Headless Horseman is a Halloween icon.
It's true, and I think that speaks to the power of the image itself.
Right.
The Headless Horseman, whether it's Rubezahl in the European mountains or Irving's Hessian Trooper in Sleepy Hollow,
Right.
taps into some very primal fears.
What do you mean?
Well, there's the fear of the unknown,
Yeah.
of something pursuing you relentlessly that you can't escape.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the missing head,
Yeah.
which symbolizes a loss of identity, a fear of becoming something less than human.
Right.
It's a powerful and unsettling image that continues to resonate with us on a deep level.
It makes you think, doesn't it? The Headless Horseman isn't just a spooky figure, but a reflection of our own anxieties, our own fears about the things that haunt us,
Yeah,
both literally and figuratively.
precisely. And I think that's why this figure has endured for so long.
Yeah.
It reminds us that there are forces in the world, both internal and external, that we can't always control.
Right.
It challenges us to confront our fears
Yeah.
and to find the courage to face the unknown.
Right. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of unpacking the origins of this iconic figure. We've journeyed from the mountains of Europe to the shadowy lanes of Sleepy Hollow, exploring folk tales, history, and the power of storytelling.
It's been a fascinating ride.
It has been.
And I think we've only scratched the surface of this enduring legend.
So to our listener, we leave you with this question.
Okay.
What does the Headless Horseman mean to you? Is it just a fun Halloween character, or does it represent something deeper? Something about your own anxieties or fears? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the Headless Horseman, be sure to subscribe for more explorations into the history, mythology, and mysteries that shape our world. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and maybe even a little bit spooked along the way.